What's going on, peeps? Hopefully your day is going well. Just had another idea again, and wanted to share my thoughts and give my 2 cents. Maybe that's what I should call this channel. Giving my 2 cents, something like that. 2 cents something. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about validation. I think validation is a pretty big topic to talk about. It's something that we all kind of, we desire, right? And I think that's important to dive into what I think in terms of what's important and what's not important, like how much is too much, kind of a balance. We can get into, like, one of the things that we can get into before we get into the idea of validation is like our fundamental needs as humans, right? Humans have three fundamental needs. We call it the 3 A's. There's a book about this. I forgot the author's name, but type in the 3 A's and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. It's an author who writes about the 3 A's of humans, which is appreciation, acceptance, and acknowledgement. So the need to be acknowledged by people, accepted, and not only accepted but appreciated. These are the things that humans desire the most out of everything, according to this author. And I could honestly agree with him. I think when I looked at myself and why I do the things I do sometimes, I really do believe that it is true in a sense that, yes, we do kind of crave these feelings. And which is another reason why the idea of romantic relationships is so powerful, because they kind of fulfill all three aspects of what you're looking for. You're being acknowledged, you're being appreciated, and you're being accepted. Well, hopefully. And having certain of these 3 A's not present in a relationship can lead to, it can lead to big problems, right? One of these A's not being validated could actually lead to an imbalance. And this is not my opinion. This is just what I've been reading from what he was talking about. But what I wanted to add on to it, and my own ideas, as the idea of validation and how validation plays a part, and what is healthy and not healthy. Because let's be realistic here. As men, I feel like we are often told a lot to be very stoic, right? We're supposed to be stoic. What I mean by this is, like, we're supposed to be unfazed by the things that happen to us in our lives. We kind of have to be emotionally resilient and be more like a whatever, it happens, who cares kind of thing, right? A lot of that kind of attitude. Stoicism is kind of like that, but a little more classy. But the thing about men in terms of validation is that they're supposed to be stoic. And what did that mean? It means that men should not seek validation, is essentially what I'm trying to get to. There's a big myth about this idea, about men having to be really powerful and not needing the idea of being validated, whether it be by a woman, by your career, your job, your boss, your parents, your siblings. Maybe you have an older brother that you really look up to. Who knows? But men are, I find, myself included, because my friends, would lecture me about these topics quite often, in relation to, like, just how I am as a guy. And they're like, no, guys have to be more self-sufficient, and they have to be more less needing less reassurance, They don't need, they have to be their own sort of anchor, so to speak. And to an extent, I agree. I think everyone should have, before seeking validation, you should ask yourself, like, can you try maybe and validate yourself? You know, I think that's an important thing to ask. However, I feel like that is contrary to what the book about the 3 A's mentions, right? Because I mean, it can't just apply to just females. He speaks in general. He speaks about both sexes. He speaks about both sexes needing the idea to be accepted, acknowledged, and appreciated. So, and I think maybe men could just look at it through other ways, and they feel acknowledged, appreciated, and accepted through their careers and their business, you know? Or maybe they have to, but essentially, they shouldn't seek it through a woman, is what I hear a lot. You know, I was in that self-help circle, right? I used to listen a lot to like pickup artists that ranged from, you know, Julian Blanc, you know, RSD Max, these types of guys. I was in that circle, RSD Social Dynamics, you know, I was in that frame for quite a few years, around like, started like around 22, 23, when I started really trying to get better at relating with women. And a lot of them would give this idea about validation and talk about how important it is to have this idea of this foundation. And it's funny how it's very masculine based, you know, because women are not really told often to be that foundation. They're told, don't worry, you'll find your man, or something like that, you know. It's a very different dynamic and a very different approach, and how to solve the problems of someone depending on their gender. I've noticed, you know. I could be wrong, but I've seen this happen. And what I'm trying to get through with this video is the idea of validation, and how it is very unrealistic to be like that. And I would suggest to strive for it, but don't expect to achieve it. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a downer or whatever, but deep down, humans do want to be appreciated, and they do want to be loved, whether you're a man or a woman. You want to be loved. You want to be cared for. You want to feel that someone does have your back, no matter who you are. And there could be people who are completely against the grain and go against this, but I would say that is not the majority of people. I would say that is a minority of people, right? Maybe those are the people who are self-actualized, you know. Who knows? But I would say that the vast majority of people that I've met, that I've become friends with, that I've shared thoughts with, drinks with, all these types of things, that the vast majority of people do crave the sense of appreciation. They crave the 3 A's. They crave validation. And you need to be smart, and you need to be realistic and reasonable in your approach to how much validation is enough. Because too much of it is bad. That I am 100% certain with. It's a very addictive feeling, and depending on your characteristics and how you are as an individual, it could heavily affect your psychology, your mental health, right? The idea of being validated, you know. And don't get me wrong, men go through this as much as women. The difference is that women have a lot more leeway in terms of validating behaviors than men do, because men have more of this idea that you need to be stoic and be more foundation based, right? So what I'm trying to understand and trying to let people know through this video is just the idea that, as a man, don't feel ashamed or embarrassed that you're seeking a certain level of validation from a woman or your job, your boss. Don't be embarrassed. It's a normal human emotion, and understand that this is just your need. Humans have needs, men or female, and even this goes for women too. If you feel like some women really value their emotional regulation and value their independence, and it's the same for women. If you feel embarrassed that you need someone, don't. It's fine. So long as you ask yourself honestly. You gotta do some self-reflection here. Just like I said, the key in every one of these videos, if you watch my previous ones, the key to everything is awareness. Be aware and start asking yourself the tough questions and tell yourself, are my demands what I'm asking for, what I need from someone else or from something else, whatever that may be, or whoever that may be? Am I being reasonable in my demands? You know, I would say that most people are reasonable. I would give the benefit of doubt and say that most people are reasonable. I would. That's my idea, right? That's what I think. I meet a lot of people. I used to work at a cafe. I used to surround myself with clients. And most people that I talk to, logically speaking, they seem okay. They seem like they know where to go. So always ask yourself, be reasonable in your demands, and be reasonable in your demands. Also be smart and ask yourself, are you seeking validation for out of what reason? Are you seeking it because you're afraid? Are you feeling anxious and you need? And this is what I talked about before about mental health wise, in terms of like your character and how it plays a role. What plays a role in validation, a big role, is your attachment styles, right? If you're insecure or if you're avoidant, right? And we'll talk more about the attachment styles because I have a lot to talk about when it comes to that. That's a big one for me. Attachment styles. It'll heavily play a role in how much validation you need, because if you're trying to use the idea of validation, sorry, I'm just trying to fix my camera here. If you're trying to use someone as a crutch in order to just not actually put in the work yourself, it could be a problem. Which is why I mentioned before, try your best as a human, depending on if you know your character, try your best as a person to validate yourself, to self-soothe, right? To be able to actually tell yourself, you're gonna be okay. Try first acknowledging yourself and accepting yourself. Try first giving yourself the 3 A's. And if you notice that it's still not enough, because you do really need to have that sort of validation from your partner, or from your coworker, from your boss, and trust me, I work in HR, and you'll be surprised at how many guys and how many people feel underappreciated at their job. It's crazy. Really crazy. And sometimes all the person needs to hear from someone else of those people is to ask. It's to ask. Which is why I say, don't be embarrassed and then just not do anything about it. And not validate yourself, right? Ask. Not demand, but ask in a assertive way, depending on the situation. Ask and say, I want to feel appreciated. Say what you feel like you're not getting from the other individual, right? And always be at the end of the day, to summarize this video in a couple of points, is understand why you want to be validated. Where is it coming from? Is it a place of fear? If it's a place of fear, then try and self-validate yourself. If it's a place of fear, try and self-soothe and empower yourself and give yourself the three A's, right? If it's something that's actually been long going and you're keeping it in and it's starting to get you frustrated and there's a sort of resentment building towards other person, demand, ask. The other person can't read your mind. The other person doesn't know your needs if you don't express them. That's a big problem a lot of people do. They expect the other person to know what they need. The problem here lies in you not expressing yourself in terms of what you need for yourself to be validated. And I'm telling you, once you get validated, I've seen it happen to me in my own life and play out. Once you get validated, it heals you. It's a healing feeling, so don't be embarrassed as a man or a woman to demand it and need it. It's a fundamental human need, and as long as, and the third topic, the third point is ask yourself, am I being reasonable in my demands for being appreciated and acknowledged and whatnot? Am I being reasonable, or am I being too much? If I'm being too much, I should back off and self-soothe and do it myself. So these are the things that I have for in terms of validating. I feel like I go off a tangent sometimes, but I want to get my point across as much as possible and try and give as accurate and informed based information as possible. So hope you enjoyed this video, and be back next time when I got another idea. Thanks, and have a great day.